Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Okay, good. Because today we're going deep on time and mortality.
Oh, wow.
Heavy stuff, right?
Hmm.
But stick with us because it gets really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so using your sources, we're going to look at how these ideas shape our search for fulfillment. We'll hit on like present versus future fulfillment,
Oh, good.
this idea of legacy,
Uh-huh.
and even, yep, you guessed it, a bit of existential angst.
Right, bring it on.
Get ready for some serious aha moments. I think this is going to be a good one.
Well, you know what I think is so interesting about all this?
What's that?
We're not just kind of floating around in these like abstract ideas.
Yeah.
This deep dive
Mm,
is all about how these concepts actually show up in our everyday lives.
totally.
They influence our choices, what we consider fulfilling, all that.
And one of your sources, it starts with a scene that I think many of us can relate to.
Okay.
So picture this. You're having dinner with friends.
Okay.
You're enjoying good food.
Good company, everything.
Perfect.
But then there's this like little voice in the back of your head.
Oh, I know that voice.
You got the to-do list,
Yeah.
an upcoming deadline,
Yeah.
maybe even planning your next vacation. Does that ever happen to you?
All the time. Yeah.
Oh, I've definitely been there.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And this scenario, I think, perfectly illustrates that tension between, being present
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on the future,
Yeah,
which are like two different roads to fulfillment.
for sure.
So one road is all about savoring the moment, right?
Right.
Appreciating what's right in front of you, being mindful.
Too mindful, yeah.
So in that dinner scenario,
Yeah.
it's about like really being present with those friends,
Mhm.
enjoying the conversation and like actually tasting that delicious food.
Makes you hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have future fulfillment,
Okay.
and that one is all about goals,
Uh-huh.
ambition, working towards something bigger.
Like building a better future for yourself, brick by brick.
I like that, brick by brick.
And the source actually uses the example of saving for retirement,
Oh, yeah.
which on the surface, makes total sense.
Right, of course.
It offers security,
Yes.
a sense of direction, but I'm sensing there's a catch here.
Well, yeah, the thing is, if we get too fixated on that far-off goal of retirement,
Uh-huh.
we risk missing out on the simple joys of today.
Makes sense.
We can actually end up feeling dissatisfied with the present because we're so focused on what's to come. It's like we're living life on fast forward, always chasing that next milestone, never really stopping to appreciate where we are right now.
That's such a good point, and it makes me think about like how often I put off enjoyment until later.
Yes.
Like, oh, when I achieve XYZ, then I'll finally be happier.
To allow myself to relax.
Yes. So how do we find that balance then? How do we embrace the present while still working towards our goals without getting like completely lost in the future?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And luckily, your sources offer some really helpful advice.
Okay, good.
So one strategy is mindfulness,
Okay.
practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
Whether it's through meditation or just taking a few deep breaths, can help us ground ourselves in the present moment.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the pause button on that constant mental chatter about the future.
Ooh, I love that analogy, hitting the pause button.
Yeah,
It feels like so freeing just thinking about it.
right.
What else can we do?
Well, another tactic your sources highlight is what they call reflective goal setting,
Okay.
which basically means taking a step back and asking yourself, do my goals actually align with my values?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to get caught up in chasing things that society tells us are important without stopping to consider if they actually resonate with what we truly value.
That's a powerful question.
Mhm.
I think we all have those goals, that we pursue because we think we should, not necessarily because they like deeply matter to us.
Absolutely. And to help with this, one source suggests actually using your calendar as a tool.
Okay.
So instead of seeing it as this never-ending list of deadlines, imagine it as a visual map of your life's journey. It's a subtle shift in perspective,
Yeah.
but it can be a great reminder that life isn't just about reaching the destination. It's about the experiences we have along the way.
I'm already starting to see how these ideas connect. Being present, setting goals that truly resonate, seeing life as a journey, not just a series of deadlines. It's all about intentionality, isn't it?
It is. And that intentionality can be so empowering. It allows us to take control of our time and how we experience it, rather than feeling like we're constantly being swept along by external pressures.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do.
It's amazing how these ideas about, present and future fulfillment, they tie into something else we all think about.
Legacy.
Legacy, exactly. That idea of leaving a mark on the world. One of your sources uses this really captivating image of like an author writing a book, and they hope it'll resonate with like generations to come.
Wow.
Makes you wonder, what kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
I love that example because it feels so powerful to create something that like outlives you,
Yeah.
that continues to have meaning even after you're gone. It's something I
Yeah.
think about a lot.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you ever think about the legacy you'll leave behind?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a question that really gets to the core of what it means to have like lived a meaningful life. And your sources, they break down legacy into two main types,
Yeah.
external and internal.
Okay.
External legacies, those are like the more tangible things.
Okay.
Wealth, inventions, institutions, things that have a visible impact on the world.
So like starting a foundation.
Yes.
Or building a school that will like benefit the community for years to come.
Exactly. Those are great examples. But then you have these internal legacies, which are more about like passing on values, lessons learned, those deep emotional connections to the people you love. It's the impact you have on their lives, the memories you create together.
Yeah.
That ripple effect of your life on those around you.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's not just about what you achieve in the world, but like the kind of person you are.
Exactly.
The relationships you nurture.
Yes.
It makes me think about like how important it is to be intentional about the values I'm passing on to my kids.
And both types of legacy, they tap into this very human desire for significance.
Yeah.
You know, we want to feel like our lives have meaning, like we've made a difference.
Makes sense.
It's something we all grapple with, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Which brings us back to our earlier conversation about fulfillment, right? It seems like that search for meaning and significance, it's a common thread that runs through both present and future fulfillment.
Yeah.
And now this idea of legacy.
Precisely. But here's where it gets a little tricky. One of your sources cautions that getting caught up in chasing external legacies, especially those driven by societal pressures,
Okay.
you know, rather than our genuine desires,
Right.
that can actually hinder our ability to find fulfillment in the present.
So it's like we're so focused on achieving some external marker of success that we kind of forget to appreciate the journey.
Exactly. We end up chasing someone else's definition of a successful life instead of defining it for ourselves.
And we might achieve all those external goals, but still feel empty because they weren't truly aligned with what mattered to us, like deep down.
Right. It's a recipe for burnout and disillusionment.
So how do we escape that trap? How do we ensure we're building a legacy that feels authentic and fulfilling?
Well, that's where this idea of identifying your core values comes in.
Okay.
Your sources, they emphasize the importance of taking the time to reflect on what truly matters to you. What principles guide your actions, your decisions? What do you stand for? What do you want to be remembered for?
Those are such important questions. It's so easy to just go through life on autopilot, following the path that's laid out for us without really stopping to examine if it's the right path for us.
Exactly. And once you have a clear understanding of your values, you can start to shape a legacy that feels aligned with your authentic self. A legacy that will bring you meaning and fulfillment, you know, both now and in the long run.
Yeah.
It's about creating a life that reflects who you truly are at your core.
I love that. Building a legacy based on your values, it takes it from this like abstract concept to something tangible, something we can actually work towards each day.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be this grand, monumental thing either.
Right.
It can be as simple as like being kind to others,
Yeah.
sharing your knowledge, creating something beautiful that brings joy to others. It's about living your values in every interaction, big or small.
That makes so much sense. It's not about waiting until we achieve some arbitrary level of success to start living our legacy. It's about weaving it into the fabric of our daily lives.
You got it. And by doing so, we not only create a more meaningful life for ourselves, but we also inspire those around us to do the same. It's a ripple effect that can truly transform the world, one authentic action at a time.
Okay, now this next topic might feel a bit heavier, but I think it's super important to explore.
Okay.
Because, well, it's something we all grapple with at some point. We're going to talk about existential angst.
Right.
You know those late night thoughts about the meaning of life?
Oh, yeah.
Our purpose?
Uh-huh.
The fact that our time here is limited? I think we've all had those moments like staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., questioning the universe.
Yeah, definitely. Many nights.
Right.
Yeah.
So existential angst.
Yeah, so it's basically that unease that arises from acknowledging our own mortality.
Right.
that our time on this planet is finite. It's that search for meaning in a life that we know will eventually end.
It can feel pretty overwhelming at times.
It absolutely can.
Almost like paralyzing.
Yeah. And one of your sources offers this really poignant illustration. Imagine someone who's been diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, all those things that seemed so important before, career ambitions, material possessions, they might start to fade into the background.
Their priorities would probably shift dramatically.
Exactly. They might focus on spending quality time with loved ones, expressing their love more openly, savoring those everyday experiences that we often take for granted.
It's a stark reminder that our time is precious.
It is.
That we shouldn't waste it on things that don't truly matter.
And your sources explain that people tend to react to this existential angst in one of two ways.
Okay.
Some seek internal peace.
Okay.
They might turn to mindfulness, spirituality, or philosophy to find solace and acceptance in the face of their mortality.
So it's about like finding a sense of calm amidst the uncertainty.
Right.
A way to like make peace with the fact that we don't have all the answers.
Exactly. Others might react by kind of doubling down on external success or their legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're driven to achieve as much as possible to leave a lasting mark on the world before their time runs out.
And both of those reactions tie back to our earlier themes, right?
Yes.
The desire for inner peace versus that drive for external achievement.
Exactly. And what's key, according to your sources, is authenticity.
Okay.
It's about finding a way to navigate these reactions in a way that feels true to yourself.
Right.
Aligned with your values and priorities. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
But how do we do that? How do we deal with this existential angst without letting it overwhelm us or lead to apathy?
It's a challenge.
It's a heavy topic, and I think a lot of people struggle with finding a healthy way to process it.
You're right. And your sources offer some coping mechanisms that you might find helpful.
Okay, good.
One is to embrace mindfulness practices or explore existential philosophy.
Okay.
These tools can help us reduce fear and enhance our appreciation for life, even in the face of our own mortality.
So it's about shifting our perspective, focusing on the beauty and wonder of the present moment rather than getting lost in the anxieties of the future.
Exactly.
Or the regrets of the past.
And it's also crucial to acknowledge that existential angst is a natural part of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel it, but we shouldn't let it lead to apathy or inaction. Just because life is finite doesn't mean it's meaningless.
We still have the power to choose how we spend our time.
We do.
To create meaning and purpose in our lives regardless of how much time we have.
Precisely. And finally, your sources emphasize the importance of living authentically, embracing growth, and accepting imperfection.
It's about letting go of the need to be perfect.
Yes.
And focusing on being true to ourselves, even in the face of our limitations.
Because it's in those imperfections, those moments of vulnerability and growth, that we often discover the most meaning and fulfillment. It's about embracing the messiness of life and finding beauty in the journey, not just the destination.
Wow. That was a lot to unpack.
It was.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive. From savoring the present moment, to building a legacy that reflects our values, to facing the complexities of existential angst. It feels like all these pieces are interconnected, like threads in a tapestry that form a bigger picture of what it means to live a fulfilling life.
You've hit the nail on the head. These seemingly separate ideas, they're deeply intertwined. They all point toward this fundamental question. How do we create a life that feels meaningful and aligned with our authentic selves?
Right.
A life that we can look back on with a sense of peace and satisfaction.
It's a question that probably doesn't have a single easy answer.
Right.
But exploring these themes gives us like a framework for figuring it out. It's like we've been given a set of tools to navigate the complexities of life, time, and our own mortality.
And that's what makes this deep dive so valuable. It's not about providing all the answers,
right,
but rather equipping you with the insights and perspectives to create your own answers.
So where do we go from here? What are some key takeaways our listener can walk away with?
Well, one of your sources offers a really powerful thought to ponder.
Okay.
Since our time is finite, reflecting on these themes can help us spend our time on what truly matters.
Yeah.
But it begs the question, how do we define what truly matters?
Right.
What are those things that make life worth living?
Yeah.
That give us a sense of purpose and fulfillment?
That's such a crucial question, and it's one that we often don't take the time to answer.
We don't.
It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, chasing external validation, societal expectations, without pausing to consider what genuinely brings us joy and meaning.
Exactly. This deep dive is an invitation to take a step back, to engage in some introspection.
Yes.
Ask yourself those tough questions about your values, the legacy you want to leave behind, how you want to spend the precious time you have. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's not about finding all the answers right away.
It's about being curious, open to exploring these big questions,
Yeah.
challenging your assumptions, and allowing your understanding of a fulfilling life to evolve.
And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. What matters most is that you're living in alignment with your authentic self, embracing the present moment, while also keeping an eye on the future you want to create.
So, to our listener out there, keep exploring these ideas.
Yes.
Let them simmer in your mind. And most importantly, use them to shape a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling to you, because at the end of the day, that's what matters most.
Beautifully said.
Oh.
Until next time, keep diving deep.